get started with the Buffalo Bills. Have you started off for us?
All right, so real quick, I just want to go through some pluses and minuses of their roster here. So just start off with offense, right? Like I feel like there's a big major weakness. Like it's not even a secret. Like everybody has been talking about this without Diggs being there. That wide receiving core, it's a big weakness there. I still feel like their offensive line is going to be solid. It's going to be good. They got some good depth in terms of their starting offensive line behind them, and in terms of good backups. Cedric Van Pran Granger, who they just drafted at center, I think is going to be an amazing fit for the Buffalo Bills going forward. Maybe not necessarily this upcoming season, but he's there as a backup, and he could easily transition over to being your starting center whenever the Bills deem that necessary. After that, they also got La'el Collins. Now, I know he's kind of like a forgotten name in most circles in the NFL, but La'el Collins has been away. He hasn't played in like a couple years, it feels like, due to injuries and just kind of just being around as a backup due to injury. That La'el Collins is still a very solid player and could definitely easily start at right tackle for them as well. So they got a couple of guys that are in a backup role, but also starter worthy. So I feel like that's still a strength for them. And then obviously everybody knows Josh Allen. He's a very solid quarterback, but definitely needs to get better in order for them to get over the top. Running backs, they got a great depth of running backs. Ray Davis, who I'm a big fan of out of this draft, they just got him. I look for him to even carve out a role as early as this season as the primary backup to James Cook. I have that much confidence in him. I think that's an excellent addition there. And in the defense, I'm gonna say that like it's a huge, I guess you call it an addition or a comeback type player in Matt Milano, who was decimated by injuries last season, couldn't play, and was the captain of the defense, a guy that ran the defense well and got everybody in the right position. You look at this team now, even with Matt Milano coming back, they've sustained some big losses. You look at the defensive end position, which I'm not a huge fan of right here. Like Greg Rousseau, who's never really panned out, being drafted in the first round in 21. And then on the opposite side, AJ Epinesa, I was never a big fan of that dude. A second round pick in 2020. Neither guy has stepped up to the plate. Neither guy has developed enough to become a difference maker or playmaker on that D line. And then linebacker wise, I think they're going to be solid. They're going to be fine. Cornerbacks, they're not as good as they once were, not as ironclad, but they're still solid there. I feel like the safety position definitely was lacking, but then they added Mike Edwards from Kansas City. They added Taylor Rapp from the Rams. So they got some veteran presence there. So that's good. So overall, they've lost some pieces. They've gained some positions that are a lot more solid. But again, I feel like they've kind of maybe taken a step back just a tad bit here to where who knows what's going to happen with this team going forward.
Yeah, and that's the some of the storylines you're kind of hearing too. And did these guys take a step back, or are they going to be able to keep pushing forward and make that run like they have, deep into the playoffs the last couple of seasons here? We obvious thing we see is the wide receiving core, and the fact that you don't have Diggs there, that's big there, but they do now have something that they can also do, I think, with the two tight end sets here, and I think they would do that a little more often here. Fill yourself with more kind of weapons that you can dish this ball out to, no matter who it is. And I think throughout the season, Josh Allen will find his guy. You'll see that guy emerge out of this wide receiving core, and who that might be. It might be both tight ends.
Yeah, that's what I was
like
gonna say.
It could be that.
I was gonna say.
You know what I mean? Because right now that's what it looks like. He loves Dalton Kincaid, and you also got your Dawson Knox right there. So I mean, it's amazing stuff for him.
Those will be his favorites already.
There you go, already, and that's your best, quarterback's favorite safety net right there. And then on the defensive side, just like you said, he did lose a little bit here. But I think they'll be fine, but it is going to be a different team. And I think that is the most challenging thing for this team, and what Josh Allen will have to do here minus Diggs. I'm surprised, though, that you're not hearing so much of that really in this offseason before the season starts. You heard some of that when Patrick Mahomes lost his Tyreek Hill, but still people picking Josh Allen to be MVP of the league and some things like that. And how do you do that when you lose such a key asset to your offense? So I think that would be the interesting moving forward here, for that team.
For sure.
I don't see them meeting the same expectations that have been on there. I think when we looked at some of the biggest questions that were, I think, on Bleacher Report or something like that, and I think some of the ones for like the Eagles was high expectations, but I think the Bills were somewhere similar to that. And I don't really see the Bills on that. I see the Bills trying to just kind of bounce back from losing a weapon like that, and just trying to still make the playoffs, make a push. I don't see them as returning or doing better.
Well, my thing is, I could still see them returning to the playoffs, but I'm not as confident as I used to be when Diggs was there. And I know one player doesn't make a roster, but when you don't have an answer after a playmaker of that caliber leaves, like it's not somebody not even close. Like, I'm sorry, Khalil Shakir. Yes, he's up and coming. Yes, he's trending upwards as being kind of one of those guys that are going to take the throne in terms of like being a starter and carrying that torch. But yes, he has potential. But are we, when we're talking about Diggs and Shakir, like, are you seriously thinking that he's going to be able to replace him? I don't see that. It's possible, but I just don't see it right now. And Curtis Samuel, who they just added to this roster, again, a guy who's been injury riddled throughout his career, has been bounced around to a couple different teams, and here he finds himself with Buffalo. Are we going to put our eggs in the basket and say, oh no, well, we got Curtis Samuel. He's going to fill that role. I don't see a guy on this roster, and you could even look deeper. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who just got added to there, a guy that typically drops the ball once in a while, not all the time, but once in a while he does. Yes, he has speed, but he doesn't have playmaking ability. Like he sometimes he drops balls when he's wide open.
Yeah,
it could be a touchdown, and he ends up dropping it. Chase Claypool, a journeyman basically at this point, started with the Bears, went to the Steelers, and went to now Miami, and then now Bills. That dude has not developed into a starting caliber wide receiver and held on to earn a role that way. So you're seeing all these kind of like, it was almost like the Bills front office was standing in front of a dartboard, put a bunch of free agent names on there as wide receivers, and just started throwing it and say, okay, whatever it hits, that's who we're signing. So again, Jim, I agree with you. I think the receiving core it has to be a position of concern for Buffalo Bills fans and the regime going forward. I still think they're going to be a competitive team. I'm not willing to say, oh, well, they're going to fall off the bandwagon. I still think they're going to be competitive. I still think this season that they can make it to the playoffs. It's just going to be a little bit steeper of a hill to climb.
Right. And then, see how Matt Milano comes back from that injury too. See how healthy he'll be coming off of that. So that'd be big for them. And if you look at the Bills schedule real quick before we wrap it up with them, you talk about the weapons or lack there, not having that guy. Their division has some pretty good defenses, Joe.
Yeah.
So you got to play them each twice. Yep. They do see the 49ers this season. And then also the Ravens and some other, the Jags really put it to them last time they played too, when they looked at them and they said Josh Allen really stepped up, and it wasn't the Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills, it was Josh Allen for the Jaguars. So there you go. There's a couple of tough games there too. So to make the playoffs in this division, they really need to get a couple of wins against these teams that are in there that have really good defenses. So it's going to be tough
for sure.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.